Come on! How's it going, everybody? This is another review from the Broken Controller Club. My name's Ed and I'm your host. I appreciate you checking out the video. You know what to do if you like it and want to see more. Today's review is of The Legend of Tianding, a game that's been out since November of last year on Xbox, Switch, and PC, but just now it made it to Xbox Game Pass. Seeing as how it's free and I'm saving my coin for more PlayStation 1 games that I've been buying lately, I decided to give this one a shot and report back to you in case you weren't aware of its existence either. It's a side-scroller that shares a lot of similarities with Guacamelee, and for that it should be commended. It's a pretty solid game that borrows from the real-life story of Liao Tianding, and just as a side note, I'm sure I'm butchering his name, I'm sorry about that. He's a sort of Taiwanese Robin Hood figure who fought and stole from oppressive rulers during the Qing dynasty, which was when Taiwan was under Japanese rule from 1895 to 1945. The game's story takes place in 1909. Tianding shows up after vanishing for a while, much to the joy of everybody in Taiwan. The Japanese have occupied the region and there's a police force in charge of finding him. The guy who runs them has a particularly vicious bloodlust and disregard for the law he's supposed to uphold that plays out over the course of the game. Tianding has the lovable scoundrel thing going on. He's armed with a knife and a red sash and he leaps from rooftop to rooftop, delivering fat cash and other goods to the less fortunate. The visuals of the game look great with lots of color all over and the animation is solid too. The cutscenes play out like comic or manga pages to a point where they actually read from right to left, and I thought that was a really great touch. The drawings in those cutscenes have a similar style to classic anime as well, at least they were to me. So for me, the cutscenes felt like comfort food that I haven't really had in a long time. To go with all the great graphics, the music varies between subtle background music to some more upbeat music later in the game to accompany the urgency of some of the events that happen later on, and for that they work well and weren't really distracting. The voice acting is not in English, and that gave it more authenticity as well. Just altogether, the sights and sounds had a lot of effort put in, and you can tell. The game is pretty well paced. Basically, each chapter in the game sets up the story. These can be a little more lengthy in the beginning, but do tighten up more towards the last half of the game. After that, you play through an area where the real action is taking place, then you fight a boss, and then you regroup with the characters to close out the chapter before the next one starts. After a little while, you'll get side quests, and some of these will require you to revisit areas you've already played through. You do that by talking to a particular character who lets you revisit past memories. Personally, I thought this didn't make a lot of sense. So for example, there's a side quest where you have to get stolen bottles of wine from the sewers, which is the first chapter's action level. It took me a long time to realize that this area was inaccessible to me other than by going to the past memories to go there. But then if the guy lost the wine, then it may not have been lost when I'd been there before. And if it was there, then I wouldn't know to bring it with me. Like, I get what they were going for, but it introduces this unintended time travel aspect to the game when they should have just let these areas stay open like they originally were. What makes more sense? Just leaving the sewers open for me to walk back in and out, or remembering that I went there, knew to get wine bottles that nobody asked for, and brought them back with me after beating the boss there? And if I did bring them with me, then where the hell are they? I mean, maybe I'm a drunk and not only took them, but got hammered to celebrate beating the boss. Stranger things have happened. Something I liked about the game is that you find lots of collectibles that give you little permanent upgrades. They're scattered all over the game and you get them by opening chests and buying stuff from other characters, or just giving money repeatedly to homeless guys as you pass by them. And that's right, San Francisco, these bums don't just shoot heroin, crap on the sidewalk, and beat each other up for half-eaten cheeseburgers. They actually give you cool stuff like stat bonuses, or they lower the amount of money that you lose when you die. The gameplay itself works well, and as I said earlier, anybody who's played Guacamelee will be right at home here. You've got your basic knife attacks, and when you whittle an enemy's health down to under half, you get the option to whip out your sash and steal their weapon. The weapons range from staves to swords, rocks, guns, even rocket launchers. Every weapon acts differently, and you'll pick your favorite one pretty quickly. In addition to this, you've also got some special moves like a horizontal and a vertical flying kick, you've got a ground stomp, and a standing punch. You can chain these together just like in Guacamelee, but personally I found that I was faster at using weapons unless I just needed to clear a crowd. Speaking of crowd clearing, the enemies aren't very bright in this, and there are plenty of times where I punched them into spikes or just let them walk off the edge to their own doom while I stood out of harm's way. As you progress, you'll get a few items to help you get around. Namely some tabby shoes that let you jump up walls, and a grappling hook is available, and very late in the game you'll get to glide and use that to go up windy tunnels and things like that. This adds some variety to your travels, but even with these in mind, the levels all felt like they ran on a little too long, as I often wondered when I'd finally reach a boss. There's a train level in particular that felt like it went on forever. Each area is totally different in look from each other, but they're all more or less the same, with you just running to the right, occasionally jumping over a wall or a platform, fighting a group of enemies, and then moving on to the next. The last level finally mixes things up in between the gliding sections, and you're also getting chased down by giant rocks, and you also have to jump onto some mine carts that scoot you from one area to the next. I wish there was more of this in the first half of the game, but as it stands, I didn't want to revisit past areas to complete side quests, which was a shame because the rewards you get for them are actually pretty good. The boss fights stand out in this and were a lot of fun. There's only one boss fight towards the end of the game that felt a little cheap, but even that one was still enjoyable, and they all have different mechanics or patterns that keep you on your toes. A fun twist with these is that you can use your sash at points during the fight to take a weapon from the boss, and you get to use it against them. So ultimately, if you're a fan of side-scrollers, I think The Legend of Tianding is a great pick. The gameplay is solid, it looks and sounds great, and there's enough collectibles and multiple endings here to keep you occupied for a while. Tianding himself is a really likable hero, and you'll want to find out what happens to him next. If you have Game Pass, then I recommend you try it out while it's still available. That's all I've got for today's video. Thanks for watching. Congratulations! You're one of an elite few to make it to the end of the video. Reward yourself by hitting the round subscribe button in the middle, and then check out the other goodies I've got in the links next to it.